My baby sister's fighting the second most aggressive breast cancer there is. Her day today was spent for sitting for 8.5 hours watching various poisons drip into her chest wall port. It's a pretty terrible thing to go through, equally terrible to watch, knowing that there's not much you can do except to provide support. And just as the poison makes its way into her body to fight an even greater monster, the cancer, while I thought about not attending the meeting tonight, my little sister's tenacity fighting the cancer monster gave me the resolve to get here. And here to help fight the monster where I can make a difference with and for the poison that's been running through the city, the administration, and the dealings with various voting taxpayers. The poison has to stop, and the only way to stop it is to beat the monster with facts. People have already been up here, but we have a Central Park development in the Boji group. This administration formed a subcommittee, 3 people that have been responsible for many of the backroom meetings about this project. And of course, you do that so you don't have to violate the Open Meetings Act. And of course, after Mr. Ellison was no longer the mayor, that subcommittee is made up of Michael Fournier, Dave Polton, and Kyle Dubeck. Pretty interesting. Mr. Dennis Cohen, the Boji attorney of record, is part of the hosting committee for Dave Polton's recent fundraiser, as listed right there. Now, how does that work when all this talk about collusion and PACs and everything is going around? Again, always one-sided, but pretty interesting to say the least. And then we've got Rizzo and Royal Oak. Seems that the Boji attorney of record is also the Rizzo attorney of record. Mr. Cohen, how interesting. And Jim Razor, familiar name, the Rizzo attorney for the petition allowing the Rizzo truck routes to flow through South Royal Oak, and presented that case to the City Commission. At that time and prior to the vote, 4 of you took campaign money. Mr. Fournier, Mr. Polton, Mr. Marley, Shard Douglas, and Jim Ellison all accepted campaign contributions from Rizzo PAC, or Joe Moonen, the director at Rizzo. And Mr. Ellison, since then, has taken additional monies, as all part of public record. None of the above was made note, and nobody recused himself from the vote. At the same time that then Mayor Ellison had worked for the Royal Oak Recycling, which was the entity to benefit from the approved neighborhood truck route during the sale of Royal Oak Recycling to Rizzo. Pending the sale of Royal Oak Recycling by Mr. Habib to Rizzo, and as you know, the attorney of record was, yes, Mr. Cohen. We then come to fiscal responsibility or lack thereof. No big contracts, ballooning legacy costs that we bond out and call that a boon. That's using one credit card to pay another one. $5.5 million in developer free money. More no big contracts. Let's talk about some of the fiscal irresponsibility. People running this city. Mr. Fournier was the American Laser and Skincare Director of Financial Planning and Analysis and Treasury Director, prior to them filing bankruptcy with assets of $500,000 and more than $100 million of debt in Chapter 7. One of our new candidates, Mr. Colo, tonight talked about snow removal fines. He should understand mandated fines. He's been a busy boy. In addition to campaigning, and Mr. Dubeck knows because he's functioning as a campaign manager, Mr. Colo and company has been in Oakland County Circuit Court for most of this year. He's tried not to pay creditors, leases, Royal Oak property taxes, and was issued a default judgment in the amount of $148,328.80. Great fiscal responsibility, people we want running this city. 5 accounts garnished to try to pay off that debt. And obviously, if we're backing him and we're supporting his campaign as a campaign finance or campaign manager, we're promoting this. And then again, don't be fooled by the misinformation arriving in your mailbox, especially with regard to the Civic Center proposal. Former Mr. Ellison, let's talk facts. Mr. Ellison took Rizzo contributions plus over a dozen other PAC contributed to his campaign. Thousands of dirty dollars. Wow, Rizzo, Boji, Central Park, and free tax dollars. And a whole bunch of people with fiscal irresponsibility. And like my sister, your fight's not nearly over. As the press and information continue to come out, we're still digging through it. This is just the beginning. It's time to rid Royal Oak of this poison. You know the AC/DC song, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap? Apparently they've been done that way in Royal Oak a long time. Have a great evening.